Students, today we are going to study the third part of my lecture on ethology, types of behavior. The first thing is, what is behavior? Animal behavior is the scientific study of the wild and wonderful ways in which animals interact with each other, with other living beings, and with the environment. It explores how animals relate to their physical environment as well as to other organisms, and include topics such as how animals find and defend resources, avoid predators, choose mates, reproduce, care for young ones, feed, etc. Behavior can also be defined as the change in the activity of an organism in response to a stimulus, an external or internal stimulus, or a combination of both external and internal stimulus. And it is shaped by natural selection. Many behaviors directly increase an organism's fitness. That is, they help it to survive and to reproduce. Just, just as Darwin defined it as the survival of fittest. So behavior gives every organism a fitness factor. Some behavior are innate and some are learned. The innate behavior, they are also called as instinctive, inborn, inherent, or consummatory action. Innate behavior are genetically hardwired into the organism from birth, and they are usually stereotyped. That is, every organism of the species will show the same type of innate behavior. That's why it is called as the fixed action pattern. Important thing is, in FAP, the fixed action pattern, the individual does not learn anything from other individual. The behavior is inbuilt. The organism has never seen that behavior earlier, but when the stimulus is given, the organism shows that specific behavior. During the lifetime, the organisms develops another kind of behavior called as the learned behavior. And the learned behavior is developed through experience. That is, when the stimulus is given, the organism will learn how to respond to that stimulus during the lifetime. So it is not genetic type, that is, it is not inside the organism, built inside the organism at the time of birth. In many cases, behaviors have both innate component and a learned component. And the learned component or the learned behavior is also called, is sometimes related to inherited adaptations or the acquired adaptations. Now, how to define fixed action pattern, FAP? FAP are instinctive, usually stereotyped, coordinated motor action behavior that occurs in a predictable, inflexible sequence in response to an appropriate stimulus from environment. Determined by genes. So it represents the species memory, and exhibited automatically by an animal without having seen or learned from, even when an animal has been raised in isolation. So in a way, it is passed from one generation to another. Example, a dog will salivate first and every time it is exposed to food. Wasp will supply its young one with caterpillars, and no one tells the wasp how or when the young ones need the caterpillar. It is an instinctive behavior and the wasp brings caterpillar for its young ones. Similarly, a pregnant mouse or any organism builds a nest, and they are not guided by conspecifics. Without any guidance, they do this action. Such actions are called as the fixed action pattern. Some examples of the fixed action pattern. A very common example is the courtship display by the male peacock. During the mating season or the rainy season, the male peacock displays the feathers and does a specific courtship dance. This behavior or the display by male peacock is not taught to the male by any other conspecific. It is built in, and the male peacock does it by itself when the mating season arrives and the organism is an adult. The mating, it's the process of mating is inbuilt, and the male and the female display it without any learning from the conspecifics. Feeding, a newborn baby or any organism will uh, need no stimulus, will need no learning to feed. Similarly, nest building. Many birds build so beautiful nest. They do not have any classes for it. They do not have any learning behavior for it. It is inbuilt. Parental care is shown by many organisms, which is again an inbuilt, a genetic specific, species specific mechanism. Vocalization, songs of cricket, birds and whales, they do not learn it from anywhere. They do not hear those songs before, but when they mature and when it is needed, they have the innate ability to produce that song or that voice. Wing cleaning in birds and insects. Then territoriality and aggression. For example, we'll be studying later about stickleback and the European Roman male. Then lake formation in the sage grouse. Sage grouse forms lakes. I'll show you a video in the later lectures how the sage grouse forms lake. Construction of nest by spider and pendulum nest by weaver bird. Now this is a very classical example, herring gull feeding. Now herring gull has a red spot on the beak. You can see in this photo there are three chicks and they are tapping their beak on this red spot. Now when these chicks tap on the red spot, the parent regurgitates the food out for the chicks. So this is a herring gull feeding. This is a classical example of feeding. We will see a small video of this feeding behavior. Grey leg goose study was done by Nico Tinbergen, a pioneering researcher of animal behavior. He studied the egg rolling behavior of the grey goose as an example of fixed action pattern. So this is the first case study we will see for FAP. If a female grey leg goose eggs rolls out of her nest, she will instinctively use her bill to push the egg bag into the nest in a series of very stereotyped predictable movement. See, the stimulus for this FAP is any egg that slips out of the nest. So when the female receives the stimulus that the eggs has rolled out of the nest, she will go and try to pull the egg back into the nest. The action are very stereotyped. Now see, we have seen earlier also that behavior gives an organism a fitness value. So why this example is studied, see, it is not too hard to imagine why this hardwired trait would be favored by natural selection. Goose mother that retrieve their lost eggs are likely to have more surviving offsprings on average than those that don't. So see, if the egg has rolled out, the mother won't be able to incubate. And when the mother won't be able to incubate, the egg won't give rise to a chick. So that's why it increases the survival value. If an egg has rolled out, the female pulled it back. But the female has never seen that action before. She does it instinctively. And how do we know that this is a FAP or that the female hasn't learned? Or so some scientists, what do? They try to stimulate the same condition with something else. So if you put an ball resembling an egg outside the nest, the female goose will show the same pattern. So fixed action pattern can also occur under circumstances where it is not useful, where it does not benefit the goose. While the goose is rolling the egg back to the nest, the egg slides off to the side or is removed by an observer. So scientists, what they do, when the goose is rolling the egg back, they remove the egg. Even when the egg is removed, the goose continues to repeat the stereotypic movement until she reaches the nest. She'll then relocate the missing egg. Once she reaches to the nest, then she'll find that the egg is still missing. And she'll try to relocate the missing egg and begin the process all over again. In another experiment, the scientist removed the egg and put a golf ball. When a golf ball was placed near the nest, the female showed the same pattern. The egg was replaced by golf ball. The golf ball also gave the same stimulus to the female, and she retrieved the golf ball back to the nest. Now I'll show you some videos. See, this is a goose egg rolling, which is posted on YouTube by Rachel Doyle. You can see in this video, a ball has been placed near the nest. It's not an egg. The female is showing the same behavior of retrieval. The egg has been pulled back by the female goose and she started incubating it. This is an example of fixed action pattern which was studied by Nico Tinberger, goose egg rolling. Now see another example in which a small object resembling the egg was placed to the nest. A bulb was placed to the nest. The female showed the same fixed action pattern as she did in the case of real egg. See, this is a cube which is placed near the nest, and she does the same. So this is an example. Now another example is of so herring gull. See the herring gull. See in this example, you see the herring gull. It has a small red spot on the beak, lower side of the beak, and the chick will try to poke the red spot, and the parent will give food to the chick. See, the chicks, they are poking the beak, and see the female has given food to the chicks. So these are some examples of fixed action pattern which are shown by organisms. Thank you.